You are watching a football match. The stakes feel high. Your heart is beating. Your team loses. You feel a genuine physical drop in your stomach. You tell yourself, it's just a game. You know it's just a game. But your brain disagrees. Your brain is processing this loss the exact same way it processed territorial defeat thousands of years ago. And in one extreme case, a single football match bypassed the metaphor completely. It stopped being a game and became an actual shooting war. This is the story of the football war. But the real answer is far stranger than just a historical footnote. The real answer lives inside your head right now, every time you watch a match. Honduras and El Salvador, June 1969. The two nations were scheduled to meet in a three-match qualifying series for the 1970 FIFA World Cup. This was not a final. This was not a glamorous tournament. This was a qualifier. On paper, it was just a ticket to Mexico. But beneath the surface, the pressure was not about sport. Land reform in Honduras had left thousands of Salvadoran farmers landless and migrating. The Honduran government, facing internal pressure, was expelling them. Newspapers in both countries had spent months printing propaganda. Neighbors were being turned into monsters through ink and paper. The football pitch just gave the abstract hate a physical shape. The first match was in Tegucigalpa, the Honduran capital. You need to picture this. The night before the game, the Salvadoran team did not sleep. A mob surrounded their hotel. They banged pots and pans all night. They threw rocks at the windows. They screamed that they would kill them. In your modern life, you worry about an away team getting booed. You worry about a hostile crowd. This was a death threat made physical. The exhausted Salvadoran team lost the first match 1-0, a Honduran goal in the 89th minute. Back home, an 18-year-old Salvadoran woman named Emilia Bolaños sat down in front of her family, put a pistol to her heart, and pulled the trigger. She could not bear the shame of the defeat. Her funeral became a national procession. The president of El Salvador walked behind her coffin. The match was no longer a game. It was a shrine. The second leg was in San Salvador. The pressure was reversed. The Honduran team stayed in a hotel that was firebombed. They were smuggled out in armored cars. At the stadium, the Honduran flag was burned. The national anthem was drowned out by screaming. In its place, a dirty rag was hoisted up the national pole. The players were terrified. The Salvadoran team won 3-0. But the violence in the stands was immediate and brutal. Fans fought with knives and broken bottles. The border between the two countries began to smolder. Diplomats had already lost control. Your brain thinks of a pitch invasion as a drunken mistake. Here, it was a rehearsal for invasion. The third match was a neutral ground decider. Mexico City, the Azteca Stadium. El Salvador won 3-2 inches extra time. They qualified for the World Cup. The losing Hondurans were attacked in the streets of a foreign country. Within hours of the final whistle, El Salvador severed all diplomatic ties with Honduras. You read that sentence and it sounds like political procedure. But what it means is that the thin, invisible membrane between civilization and violence had dissolved. A game had just broken the ability of two nations to speak. On the 14th of July, 1969, 14 days after the final whistle, the Salvadoran Air Force launched a surprise attack. Passenger planes with bombs strapped to their bellies flew over Honduran airfields. The army crossed the border. The football war had officially begun. The conflict lasted just 100 hours. But in that 100 hours, roughly 3,000 people died. The Organization of American States negotiated a ceasefire. The roots of the war were land, migration, and economic pressure. But the trigger was a football match. That is a terrifying detail. It implies a match can be a fuse. It implies that what we call fandom is actually a sublimated form of survival instinct. And this is where it gets deeply personal for you. You are not a soldier. You are not a dictator, but the machinery is the same. In 2009, neuroscientist Dr. Pascal Molenberghs scanned the brains of die-hard football fans. When a fan watches their team lose, the amygdala activates. That is your brain's primal threat detection hub. It processes fear and anger. It does not know the difference between an invading army and an invader scoring a goal. The insula also lights up. That is the part of your brain that processes pain. Real physical pain. When you see a missed penalty, your brain stabs itself. The study showed that fans literally feel the loss as a bodily wound. Your rational mind says, "Relax, it's 0-0. But your ancient brain is scanning the horizon for raiders. There is a darker layer, oxytocin. It is the bonding chemical. It creates trust and love. But Dr. Carsten De Dreu's research on parochial altruism shows it doesn't just bond you to your tribe. It simultaneously heightens your aggression toward the outgroup. When your team scores, your body releases a flood of oxytocin. You love your fellow fans. You hug strangers. But that same chemical pulse makes you hate the opposition more efficiently. It makes you dehumanize them. The enemy fan isn't just a neutral human wearing a different color. In your endocrine system, they become a genuine existential rival. This is why post-match riots feel euphoric. The brain is getting the same reward it got when our ancestors sacked a neighboring camp. Even the shirt you wear is a trigger. Psychologists call it the color-competitiveness effect. Referees award more fouls against teams wearing black. Teams in red have a statistically measurable advantage in tournament play because the color red subconsciously signals dominance and danger to the opponent's visual cortex. Your eyes look at a red jersey, and your body prepares for a fight. It's not a thought, it's a reflex. You are basically an animal responding to a threat display. The 1969 war ended with a ceasefire. El Salvador's army withdrew. The match result? El Salvador went to the 1970 World Cup. They were knocked out in the group stage without scoring a single goal. 3,000 dead for a 0-goal group stage exit. But the tragedy asks a disturbing question. Is your modern fandom just a peace treaty your body hasn't signed? Because every Sunday you gather with your clan, you sing battle hymns, you face a rival tribe in a designated territory. And for 90 minutes, your brain fights the real war. Your eyes see a pitch, but your amygdala sees a front line. It is just a game. That's what the 18-year-old girl thought too, before she picked up the gun. The only difference is that today, after the final whistle, you walk home. The ancient circuits shut off just in time. But they don't sleep. They never sleep. They just wait for the next kickoff.